What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to
tank trucks by the end of the 30s, when the military began to realize more and more deeply the important role of tanks in combat operations. The major automobile companies of Western countries began to test a new means of military transport, tank trucks. These were modified serial trucks with a simple and rational lifting and unloading system in place of the body, which served for accelerated reloading of self-propelled armored vehicles of light and medium category. In the course of the war, tractor-trailers and specially designed multi-wheeled tank tractors were added to the tank trucks. France in the 30s. France was considered the pioneer in the design and manufacture of the first single examples of tank trucks with a smooth body floor and various simple lever mechanisms for rapid transportation of light tanks on public roads. Belay's hopes to receive large government orders for trucks and armored vehicles were not justified. In September 1939, it was confiscated to organize the production of shells. USA since 1940 in America at the main enterprises for production of heavy commercial vehicles White, Mack, Diamond T and others were assembled a large number of individual batches of simplified 3-axle tank trucks with open cargo platforms and 2 rear folding ramps, which were sent to the places of operation and finalization. Initially, one of the most famous American military vehicles during the Lend-Lease period was a special 134 horsepower White 920 6x4 chassis with tanks with a capacity of 18,000 litres of gasoline. But after the German occupation of France, they were shipped to England, where they were converted into tank trucks for the transfer of light and medium armored vehicles. In total, up to 300 such vehicles were built. An important exception was the experimental work of a small company Dart Truck, which built an open tank transporter Dart T13 6x6 for delivery of medium tanks M3 on low-frame 40-ton semi-trailers M15. It was equipped with a 250 horsepower engine, 3-speed transmission, bumper-mounted chain winch for self-dragging and special equipment for reloading. Germany in 1937 to 1939 Bussing NAG, Formwerk, and WWII 6x4 companies started to assemble similar heavy diesel flatbed transporters of 9-ton category with open or closed cabins and all single wheels. In their time, they were the largest and most powerful vehicles of the Wehrmacht, used for transportation of light tanks on its cargo platform and towing heavy guns and tank trailers. The Bussing NAG 900 trucks were equipped with inline 6-cylinder diesel engines with an output of 130 horsepower, 4-speed gearboxes with demultipliers, powerful frames and suspensions, pneumatic brakes and 22-inch wheels. The speed of the trucks reached 58 km per hour. The Fornell 900D 567 vehicles were powered by Deutz engines with almost the same displacement and increased to 150 horsepower power, 25 mm. Longer wheelbase and wider track. At full load they moved on the highway at a speed of 50 km per hour. Only 80 units of both types were assembled. At the same time, the WWII company was building multi-purpose 9-ton trucks. In the late 30s it offered 2 types of paramilitary vehicles, 8 LR654 and 8 LR655 with an output of 150 and 160 horsepower, which during the war served in units for delivery of ammunition, personnel, and light tanks. When the factory was closed, transport anti-aircraft systems of 88 mm caliber were installed in the bodies. United States simultaneously with the production of simplified tank trucks in the U.S. during World War II, for the first time in the world, radically new transporters of unconventional designs were tested, including 8-wheel tractors and unique engine fronts, between which a platform was hinged to deliver heavy armored vehicles. Pacific M26 or M26A1, 1943 to 1945. During the war, the corporation with the luxurious name Pacific Car and Foundry Company and the unofficial name Dragon Wagon became the only manufacturer of the largest transporter tractors for towing heavy multi-axle tank semi-trailers, capable of performing their functions in close proximity to the war zone. In March 1943, Pacific began production of the armored 12-ton tractor M26 6x6. Its main exterior feature was a high-mounted and forward-extended 7-seat cab with a hatch for anti-aircraft machine gun, sloping steel armor plates and folding armor shields in all 8 side, frontal window openings and behind the front panel in front of the radiator. The tractor used an inline six-cylinder gasoline Hall-Scott engine with an output of 240 horsepower, mounted in a casing in the center of the front part of the cab. The engine was equipped with a 4-speed manual transmission with a 3-speed gearbox, which provided 12 forward speeds. The rear bogie was mounted on a balanced lever spring suspension, and the torque supply to the driving wheels was carried out by onboard chain gears. The truck was equipped with a classic front leaf spring suspension, pneumatic brakes on the rear wheels and 2 winches mounted behind. The cab with a pulling force of 20 tons each. Since May 1944, the company assembled a lightweight unarmored tractor M26A1 with a characteristic streamlined open cockpit with a soft top. The M26A2 variant differed by the presence of 24-volt electrical equipment. When transporting medium Sherman tanks, the M15 or M15A1 2-axle low-bed semi-trailers with a payload of 40 to 45 tons were used, which could reach speeds of up to 45 km per hour on the highway. Pacific built 1,272 tractors of all types through early 1945, including 752 M26 models and 520 M26 A1, A2 series machines. Cook T1 T20, 1942 to 1945. In June 1942, the Cook Brothers Design and Engineering Company presented for testing a self-propelled prototype of a heavy armored personnel carrier with two 260 horsepower V8 engines. Its drivetrain was based on an original concept with individual chain drives for each wheel, and the 2 front axles were combined into a steerable bogie mounted under the cab on a turntable. The armored vehicle with the Index T1, 8x8, was tested in the Mojave Desert and was later known as Cook's Desert Armored Personnel Carrier. Interestingly, to cool a number of its units served as the original sources of cold, bags with dry ice. A couple of years later, the modest experience allowed the development of 2 8-ton tank tractors T20, 8x8, in flatbed ballast, and fifth-wheel versions for towing trailers and semi-trailers with engineering equipment and tanks. They had a 240 horsepower gasoline engine, located in the rear part of the extended 3-seat cab, under which the driver-controlled swivel bogies were based. The tractors were equipped with a 4-speed gearbox, double main gears and 2 winches with a total tractive effort of 27 tons. The overly complicated and heavy front-wheel drive design proved to be more practical and cheaper, allowing to do without expensive and unreliable equal-angle joints, which by that time could not transmit high torque. Sterling T26, 1945. Shortly before the end of the war, the company Sterling, which produced trucks, received an order from the U.S. Army Department to create a series of advanced cabover and more powerful 20-ton tank tractors T26, 8x8, made on the model of the works of the Cook brothers. In general, the design with a unique transmission was retained, and some models were heavy vehicles with 8 double wheels. In the winter of 1945, the first Army tractor T26 with a 275 horsepower V12 gasoline engine, main 5-speed gearbox and 2-speed transfer gearbox, which provided 20 forward gears. Instead of doors, the truck was equipped with a 5-seat cab and a wood-metal cargo platform for carrying ballast and crew. In the spring, tractors with all double wheels, double cab, and winch were built for trial tests in coupling with special heavy semi-trailers for transportation of medium tanks M4 with 90mm cannon. In summer, the company built the most powerful multi-purpose vehicle tractor T26E1 with a V8 tank engine with an output of 525 horsepower, a rear ballast coupler, all double wheels and 2 drum winches with a total pulling force of 27 tons. On this chassis were mounted transport vans, wreckers, and new transmission elements. From January to May 1945, 8 Army vehicles were built. Leeno T4, 1944 to 1945. In pre-war times, Leeno's fame came from one-off examples of large off-road vehicles designed by engineer Robert Gilmore Leeno. At the end of World War II, he realized a simple idea to combine 2 single-axle armored scrapers with engines and cabs facing in different directions. Thus, the 40-ton T4, 4x4, tank transporter for armored vehicles was born. Each scraper tractor was equipped with a 220 horsepower gasoline Hall-Scott V8 engine with torque converter, 4-speed transmission, armored cabs with controls and 32-inch single wheels. The front tractor had an observation tower for the commander, while the second tractor had 2 squat cabs for the crew. In order to load the tank in the free space between the tractors with low-profile steel floor and side ramps, it was placed at a certain place parallel to the transporter. The gripper was controlled by means of powerful winches and hydraulic cylinders, which changed the angle of deflection of the rear. Tractor relative to the platform. Tests proved the unsuitability of the T4 for practical use, as all loading and unloading operations proved to be unacceptably long and labor-intensive for combat situation. Mack T8, 1944 to 1945. At the end of 1944, the famous truck company Mack managed to partially correct the mistakes of Leeno tractors, which for the transportation of advanced M26 tanks built a long wheelbase 4-axle tank transporter T8, 8x8. It consisted of two autonomous 2-axle short wheelbase bogies with cabins and 240 horsepower engines with chain drives of single, unguided wheels facing in different directions. Between them was placed a long wheelbase cargo platform with drum winches, which could be disconnected from one or both tractors. This scheme allowed to tilt the platform or to lower it to the ground at all, driving on the platform on its own and speeding up the process of loading and unloading. The next year, the Mack company built the second transporter T81, 8x8, which differed from the first one by a more powerful tank. Engine Ford GAA V8 with an output of 500 horsepower and reinforced transmission units. In the summer of 1950, its development became the T9 transporter with two tractors for transportation of 280mm howitzer, known as the M65 Atomic Annie atomic gun. The title photo shows a restored Pacific M26 armored tractor with a forward-mounted 7-seat cab and engineering recovery equipment. Photo by the author. In conclusion, tank trucks played a pivotal role during World War II, serving as the backbone for the rapid deployment of heavy armored vehicles. Their impressive capacity and speed allowed military forces to maintain momentum on the battlefield, ensuring that troops had the necessary equipment at critical moments. As we reflect on these giant vehicles, we recognize their contribution not only to logistics but also to the overall success of military operations during the war. Understanding the significance of tank trucks helps us appreciate the innovative engineering and strategic planning that shaped modern warfare. Thank you for joining us in exploring this fascinating aspect of history.